My name is Jason, and this is Just Watches. Okay, today we have something really interesting out of Invicta. Generally, I don't like the watches they make, but every once in a while, they really nail something. So today we have the Invicta Vintage 37071. But before we get into the review, if you're enjoying the contents of this channel, I invite you to subscribe. And if you like the contents of this individual video, please give it a thumbs up. Thank you so much. So for price and availability, as of the time of this recording, this watch is available on Amazon for around $55. Now this case is much smaller than I'm used to. It's 33 millimeters in diameter, 40 millimeters lug to lug, 10.5 millimeters thick, but about 1 millimeter of that is a crystal, and 16 millimeter lug with opening. So the case is completely high polish with a light chamfer at the top of the mid case and then gently curving lugs. The smaller size of this watch really adds to the vintage feel, and after wearing it for a few days, you actually do get used to this smaller size. On the stock strap, it weighs in at a light 45 grams. The stock strap is 16 millimeters and does not taper. It has a canvas top and then a soft backing. The hardware is large and a bit awkward on such a small watch, but functions fine. Now keep in mind the strap is quite short. On my 6 3/4 inch wrist, I'm on the third from the last hole. So if your wrist is much bigger than mine, you're probably going to need to find a longer strap. Also, finding that strap might be tricky since 16 millimeter straps are not as common as 18 or 20 millimeter ones. Overall, the strap is fine at this price point. The screw-in Caseback is going to help provide 100 meters of water resistance and is high polish. I don't really like high polish Casebacks as they tend to get scratched up very easily, but that's just a minor nitpick here. You generally won't see it being on the back of the watch. This watch is powered by the Seiko Caliber VD78. This is a quartz movement with an accuracy of plus or minus 20 seconds a month and a battery life of approximately 3 years. Being a quartz watch, the second hand does hack when you pull out the crown. It's nice to see they're using a good Seiko movement in this watch. The 5 millimeter push-pull crown is very lightly knurled with a high polish finish. It's also signed, which I was surprised to see at this price point. The crown is quite thin in profile, so it is tricky to grip, but as this is a quartz watch and it does not have a date, you will very rarely be adjusting the time on it. The crystal is this really awesome dome that rises about 1 millimeter proud of the bezel of the watch. Now, on the downside, this is Invicta's Flame Fusion, which is supposedly a hybrid between sapphire and mineral, but I think that's just kind of fancy marketing, and I wouldn't really trust this crystal to be as scratch resistant as sapphire. That said, I've really never seen a crystal that creates this massive of distortions. You can see as I manipulate the watch here, it does crazy things to the railroad track at the edge of the dial and the numerals. It's just a really cool crystal and it has an awesome effect on the dial. The cream dial has a half railroad track at the edge, and then as I said in the crystal section, you can see that the distortion on those actually makes them appear as full dashes sometimes. The hours are displayed in Arabic numerals except for the 6 where the small second subdial resides. Invicta resides at 12. Now the hours are a touch small, and I feel there's quite a bit of space on the dial for them to be larger. That said, the watch is still legible. I like the use of black for Invicta and the small second hand. They balance each other out and don't distract from the beautiful hour and minute hand. So the leaf style hour and minute hands are a beautiful blue that really pop in the light. I can't believe how well executed they are for this price point. The minute hand is very long and reaches all the way to the edge of the dial. The small second hand has a small counterbalance, and the registration is good on mine, with the second hand hitting the small dashes. And here is the watch on my 6 3/4 inch wrist. So yes, this size is going to take some getting used to, but I think it looks pretty cool once you do. So pros and cons, starting with the pros. Well, Invicta really nailed this watch and it has an incredibly fun vintage feel. The blue hands are gorgeous and really pop against that dial. And then this domed crystal just adds all sorts of crazy cool distortion and more vintage charm. Finally, you get a nice Seiko quartz movement, which should be reliable and durable over time. My main con is the bulky hardware on the strap doesn't really fit the rest of the watch. Second, the numerals are a bit small and I think they could have made them just slightly larger to make the watch a little bit easier to read and to balance out a bit of the negative space on the dial. Last, I don't really like all high polished cases, but that's really just a personal preference. As for comparables, I really don't have much experience with 33 millimeter watches, so I didn't have a great recommendation for alternatives to this one. If you know of a modern watch that's similar to this, please let me know in the comment section below. So there you have it, the Invicta Vintage 37071. Invicta doesn't always knock it out of the park, but when they do, I think they do an excellent job. What do you think about this watch? Let me know in the comment section below. As always, if you're enjoying the contents of this channel, I invite you to subscribe. And if you like the contents of this individual video, please give it a thumbs up. That's all for this time. My name is Jason, and you have been watching Just Watches.